This is a tutorial for a two-tone round jelly roll rug. The first thing you need to do is choose 2 coordinating fabrics. Then you will cut these into 2.5-inch strips. I cut 20 of each for a total of 40 strips. Now it's time to join the strips. We do this by putting the pretty sides together and sewing them at a 45-degree angle. So I'm getting these lined up and getting ready to sew these. You can draw a line here if you want, but I don't find it necessary. After you do a few of these, it's pretty easy. This is very forgiving. It does not have to be perfect. Now we add 2.5-inch strips of batting, and what I'm doing here is lining it up and joining it. This is a Clover Tube Maker, which I absolutely love. I'm sewing the pink strips together with the serpentine stitch. I'm sewing the floral fabric together with the straight stitch. Now I'm deciding between an oval rug and a round rug. I decided to go with a round rug. I started with 1.5 inch strip and folded these. I'm going to sew down the center here, across the top and down the side here. Then you'll cut the thread and sew along this fold and up the side. Then you take turns sewing each strip around, and you have to break your thread often. This device is called a hump jumper. You put it under the back of the edge of the foot, and it helps with these thick seams right here. So if you have trouble getting your seam to stitch, this is the way to go. And as I begin to sew this first seam, my stitches don't get stuck or bound up. So we're going to sew here and then go around. This is a cheater needle. It has a little split in the top of it. This is what I use to bury my threads. It is so much easier than threading a needle. So here I'm just pushing that thread through and pulling it up, giving that a good tug. Now I'm going to start easing the fabric in around the curves. It's very important to get the outside as flat as you can. If you see right here, this little flange is sticking up. So you really want to try to ease more fabric in and pin that and get that as flat as you can. Because if you have that little lip there, eventually it will start cupping on you. So pin, 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 ease that fabric in, touch it with an iron, and then you'll get a good flat seam. Notice how flat the outer edge is. Now it's time to sew it. I'm just giving you a visual on where I stopped the stitching. So you want to stop just a little bit before the other row, and then you start stitching again. So I'm just continuing to sew here. I use the widest zigzag on my machine. Try to keep the seam lined up with the middle of the foot, and it keeps the zigzag stitches straight. This is just a thread stand that I use, and this is embroidery thread. My little tiny iron. So my threads were coming out, and I decided to start knotting my threads here, and then I'm going to bury it with that needle. That is what I call a cheater needle. So after I bury these threads, you'll see my little pair of scissors here. These are curved. They're not necessary, but it just keeps you from cutting things you don't want to cut. So this is where my rug got too big and it was heavy. And this decreases the drag when you fold it over, and it puts less stress on these Jelly Roll rug strips. So they tend not to ruffle or wave. And as I sew, I slide this around. It's just easier for me to handle. And I'm just continuing to alternate the rows of the pink and the floral stitching. So I cut this edge at a taper, and you tuck it into the little flange and zigzag it. And then you just repeat that again for the other strip, and your rug is complete. I hope you enjoyed this Jelly Roll tutorial. You can find me on YouTube and TikTok under Broken Threads. Please join my Facebook group. It is So Sweet Jelly Roll Rugs How To. Happy sewing!